Let me ask you something. Have you ever worked so hard to reach a goal, only to get there and still feel empty? You hit the number, you passed the test, you got the thing, but somehow it wasn't enough, and so you moved the goalpost again. Told yourself, once I get there, then I'll finally feel proud, then I'll be enough. But the truth is, you've been measuring your life in a way that guarantees disappointment. This is what Dan Sullivan calls the gap and the gain. And today, I want to show you how this invisible mindset trap is stealing your joy, and how you can break free, starting now. What is the gap and the gain? Here's how Dan Sullivan breaks it down. The gap is when you measure yourself against the ideal, the perfect future that's always just out of reach. The gain is when you measure yourself backward, against where you started, how far you've come, what you've overcome. The gap is chasing what's missing. The gain is celebrating what's already built. And most people live in the gap. They're chasing happiness, but they never catch it because it keeps moving. They forget that progress is success. And that perfection? It's an illusion. Why the gap is so dangerous? Living in the gap does something brutal to your brain. It conditions your mind to associate achievement with lack. Every time you grow, you punish yourself for not being further. Neurologically, this rewires your reward system. Instead of releasing dopamine, your brain's "you did it" chemical. Your brain feeds you stress hormones like cortisol because it thinks you're failing. It's not that you're failing, it's that you're measuring wrong. So even when you succeed, you don't feel it. This is why burnout happens. This is why high achievers crash. This is why people who have it all still feel empty. Because they're stuck in the gap, looking forward instead of looking back. Now imagine this. You stop chasing a moving target and start standing still long enough to say, "Look how far I've come." That's the gain. And it's not about lowering your standards. It's about learning to measure differently. Peace comes from within, not from achievement. We suffer more in imagination than in reality. Measuring your life based on ideals is a form of suffering. But measuring from your actual experience, that's where confidence is born. You know who used the gain mindset? Thomas Edison, who failed over 1,000 times while inventing the light bulb. He didn't say, "I'm still in the dark." He said, "I found 1,000 ways that don't work." That's the gain. Serena Williams. She didn't only track the titles she hadn't won. She celebrated every match, every lesson, every comeback. Even Walt Disney, who was fired from a newspaper for lacking imagination. He didn't live in that gap. He built his vision, one small gain at a time. The difference between people who feel stuck and people who feel unstoppable, it's not how much they have, it's how they measure. How to shift from the gap to the gain. Here are 5 practical ways to start living in the gain today. 1. Track backward progress daily. End your day with this question. What did I do today that I couldn't do 6 months ago? 2. Start a wins journal. Every week, write down 3 gains, no matter how small. Celebrate momentum. 3. Replace "I'm not there yet" with "Look how far I've come." Say it out loud. Rewire your language equals rewire your brain. 4. Avoid comparison traps. Instagram shows people's highlight reels, but your progress is real, even if it's not flashy. 5. Define your version of success and revisit it weekly. Don't chase someone else's mountain. Build your own path. Then measure backward. Let me pause for a second and ask you this. How many videos have you watched like this? Felt inspired, and then just moved on with your life? No change, no reflection, no action. Not because you didn't care, but because you didn't have someone in your corner. Someone who reminds you of what actually matters. That's why this channel exists. Not to just motivate you for 10 minutes, but to retrain your mind, one powerful idea at a time. If you're tired of forgetting your potential, if you want weekly reminders that you are growing, that you are making progress, and that you're not alone in this journey, then don't just watch and walk away. Subscribe right now and hit the bell icon so the next time you're slipping back into the gap, the next time you're measuring your life the wrong way, I can be right there to pull you back. This is your space, your reset button, your weekly gain. Let's keep building together. You're not behind. You're becoming. Listen. You're not falling short. You're just measuring against a version of success that doesn't exist. It's time to stop living in the gap and start celebrating the gain. You've grown. You've survived things that once broke you. You've kept showing up even when you had every reason to quit. That is the gain. That is your proof. That is your power. So take a breath. Look back and say to yourself, I am not where I want to be yet, but I am nowhere near where I used to be. And that is enough. For today, for now, and for the version of you that's still becoming.